There's one thing that anyone who's ever done night deliveries knows: it's that feeling of isolation on nameless roads surrounded by houses with no lights on. Behind the door you knock on at 2 a.m. might be a sleepy customer, but it could also be something else. Today I'm going to share with you 3 true stories, 3 deliveries that seemed ordinary but turned into nightmares. A house deep in the woods with no visible road, a stalker hiding behind a dark bush, and a meticulously planned ambush. These stories don't rely on jump scares, but if you've ever been alone at night, you'll understand why. They're so terrifying. Story 1. The house at the end of the woods. I used to deliver for a small pizza joint called Leonardo's in a remote northern town. It was 2009, and that night my final delivery of the shift was also the first time I genuinely thought I wouldn't make it back. That night's shift had been quiet until my boss Frank handed me a small piece of paper. It had a handwritten address and a landline number. "Last one," he said. I didn't have GPS or a smartphone, just a paper map in my memory. It took me nearly 25 minutes to crawl down muddy dirt roads with no streetlights. On either side were just dark woods with the occasional abandoned house hidden behind thick trees. I almost gave up until I saw a narrow trail off the roadside, just like the caller had described over the phone. "It's just a dirt path, no street sign." His voice had been low, flat, and cold. I turned in. The car jolted over potholes for nearly half a minute before a house finally emerged, a 1-story wooden cabin, old and quiet like the world had forgotten it. Dim orange light slipped out from the single window, casting a weird hue on my car. Beside the house was an old rusted pickup. I grabbed the pizza box and stepped out. No doorbell. I knocked gently on the rotting wooden door. Inside, a faint, scratchy tune was playing some ancient music on a record player. I heard slow footsteps, then the door creaked open. One eye, just one eye, stared at me through the narrow crack. "Pizza delivery," I said, my voice shrinking involuntarily. The man behind the door replied, "Ah, pizza." His voice matched the call exactly, rough, flat, and devoid of emotion. After a few seconds of silence, he said, "Wait while I get the money." The door remained open as he disappeared inside. I stood outside, unable to help peeking in a dim room filled with furnishings from another era: warped chairs, a stained rug, and an old gramophone with a horn-like speaker rising like some bizarre appendage. But the most unsettling thing was the smell, damp, moldy, and something else, like rotting animal. "I need you to come into the kitchen for a second," his voice suddenly called out. I hesitated. There's an unwritten rule: never enter the customer's home. But somehow my feet moved. The floor sank under each step. To the right was the kitchen where the voice had come from. To the left was a dark hallway lined with closed doors. At the end of the hallway, someone was moving. I froze as I saw a man, back turned, dancing. But not happily. He was stroking his body, moving slowly like it was some twisted ritual. I turned back toward the kitchen, still holding the pizza hands, shaking. As I took one step forward, I saw another face. It was him, that same eye peeking halfway out from a wall, watching me. This time I heard laughter. But it wasn't laughter. It was a low groaning sound, warped and wrong. Then suddenly, his voice barked, "Randall." The tone was no longer flat, it was sharp, cold, commanding. I turned my head. The dancing figure had stopped. Now he was standing still, staring directly at me. No more music. Nothing but dead silence. I turned and ran for the door. Even as I got in the car, I was still clutching the pizza box like it was a lifeline. As I backed up, I glanced once more. The door was wide open, and on the roof, a figure was sitting, still, watching me. I never returned to that address. From that night on, I never stepped inside another customer's house. But in my dreams, I still see that eye. Watching. Story 2. The One in the Bushes. I was a freshman living in Newark, Delaware, a quiet town unless the university was in session. I worked bike deliveries for a Jimmy John's to make some cash. And that night was the first time I ever felt hunted. The shift ended at 2 a.m. The last order went to a house I'd delivered to a few times near the campus. I pedaled fast, just wanting the night to be over. When I got there, the house was completely dark. I knocked once, no answer. Twice, still nothing. I was getting frustrated. If no one picked up, I'd have to return to the store and lose the fare. I took out my phone to call when I heard rustling across the street. Thought it was wind. But when I looked up, I saw it. A person, or more accurately, a shadow, was crouched behind a bush. I couldn't see their face, just a figure watching me. They didn't move, but I felt their gaze like a knife. I pretended not to notice, kept knocking, hoping someone would answer. Finally, a groggy, irritated man opened the door, saying he didn't place the order, his roommate upstairs did. I glanced back, the figure in the bushes was still there, but now a few steps closer. I could see old shoes and a frayed hoodie. I panicked. I couldn't go inside, I didn't want to lose my bike. I didn't know if that person had a weapon. Eventually, the roommate refused to come down, so the guy at the door agreed to take the food. As soon as he signed, I turned to my bike, and that's when he lunged from the shadows. I only caught a blur of black clothing, dirty shoes hitting pavement with a crack, and those eyes animalistic. I didn't think. I pedaled down the forest path, a place no sane person would enter at night. But I knew the route. I didn't stop. Didn't look back. Only when I saw the dorm lights in the distance did I finally breathe. I never told anyone. Never called the cops. But from that night on, I always carried nunchaku on my shifts, and I always felt like I was still being watched. Story 3. The House Without Lights. I was doing Uber Eats while living with my parents in Wilmington, North Carolina. Late-night deliveries were the fastest way to make money. Empty roads, lots of orders, good tips. But that night made me quit for a long time. I picked up an order from a familiar fast food place. The address led me to a deserted dirt road at the edge of a forest. No lights, no cars. I had to use my car headlights and phone flashlight to see the path. Every step through thigh-high grass made me more uneasy. I texted the customer, "I'm here, can you confirm the address?" He read it instantly and replied, "I see you." My heart raced. I asked, "What does my car look like?" "I see your lights," he said. I started backing away, then heard a man's voice from somewhere in the woods. "Come on over." I said nothing. I turned back to my car. As I reached it, a sound froze my blood-hissing air. I looked down, all 4 tires were slashed. I reached for my phone to call the police. But before I could dial, I saw someone standing by the window. Then 2, 3, 4. 1 on each side of the car, all wearing masks. No one spoke until one of them screamed, "Get out! Now!" I asked, "If I give you everything, will you let me go?" One nodded. I unlocked the door and was yanked out. They beat me, kicked me brutally. Took everything: wallet, phone, watch, shoes, even my car keys. I came to later lying by the roadside. I dragged myself to a distant house for help. A woman let me use her phone. Police came and filed a report. The Uber order was traced to a new account with stolen ID. The house abandoned, listed for sale. I lost everything except my life. And from then on, I only delivered during daylight. You might think being a delivery driver is just a part of an ordinary life, but it's in those ordinary moments that the worst things can happen. and not every danger comes with a warning. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you've ever experienced something strange while working at night, share it in the comments. Who knows, the next story might be yours. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next terrifying stories. And remember, sometimes the scariest thing is the place you thought was the safest.